time for business news now. Stephen Carroll joins us for that. Stephen, I'm going to start with results from Apple, which has seen booming sales during the pandemic.
Yeah, demand for new 5G-enabled iPhones saw Apple's profits more than double in the first 3 months of 2021. The world's most valuable public company reporting profits of almost $24 billion. Sales of its biggest earner, the iPhone, jumping by 2/3. There was double-digit growth too in sales of Macs and of iPads. For the first time, Apple has acknowledged, though, that it has been affected by the global shortage of semiconductor microchips. It's now expecting sales to be $3 to $4 billion lower in the period from April to June as a result.
Well, meanwhile, another tech company that has had a good start to the year was Facebook.
The social networking giant said that advertising prices rose by about 30% over the past year, a sign of the strong demand for digital ads as people have been spending more time online. Net profits at Facebook were $9.5 billion for those first 3 months of 2021. That's almost double last year's figure. There are now almost 3.5 billion people using one of Facebook's platforms like Instagram and WhatsApp at least once a month. The company has warned, though, that changes to Apple's policies on advertising, tracking and apps will impact its results later this year.
Well, the travel sector has not had a good year. However, plane maker Airbus is returning to profits.
Airbus reporting profits of €362 million in the first quarter. That's compared to a loss of $481 million last year. The company's improvements are thanks to cost-cutting measures, but the crisis, it says, in the sector is not yet over. Airbus still forecasting profits for 2021 as a whole of €2 billion. Staying with air travel, Germany's Lufthansa still in the financial doldrums. The airline lost €1.1 billion between January and March. Now that's an improvement on last year, due again to cost cutting, which saw tens of thousands of jobs lost at the company. Lufthansa is expecting to fly around 40% of its pre-pandemic capacity this year. That's lower than its previously forecast, but it's betting on a significant recovery in air travel in the second half of the year, citing moves by the EU to open up transatlantic travel.
So, Stephen, how is all that going down on the market?
Lufthansa shares starting the day down 1% in Germany. Airbus shares, though, up after their return to profit, up 2% in the early minutes of trading in Paris. Generally, European markets starting the day with gains. Investors, of course, also digesting news of Joe Biden's latest policy speech.
Now, here in France, workers at the Renault factory that's threatened with closure are continuing to strike.
Workers at a metal foundry in Brittany detained several members of management for 12 hours on Tuesday as part of their protest. They say the site is viable, but across the motor industry in France, there are big changes underway as car makers move towards electric models. Yuka Rouet has the story.
Not for sale. Treason. A blockade continues at Renault's Fonderie de Bretagne, with workers crying foul over the planned sale of this parts plant.
On est plus que performant. On a toute notre place dans la fonderie. On a toute notre place dans le groupe Renault.
Renault considers the iconic foundry, which makes suspension and gearboxes, no longer profitable. Its 350 employees disagree.
On ne veut pas la conversion, on a besoin de ces pièces-là. Cette fonderie, elle est viable.
Ce qu'on produit aujourd'hui, c'est les porte-fusées pour la voiture électrique. C'est la voiture électrique qui sera l'avenir de la prochaine génération de véhicules. Et c'est exactement ce qu'on fait.
The shift towards electric cars, however, is posing a threat to automobile workers. They need fewer parts and therefore fewer workers. Car makers say where a combustion engine car needs 5 people to build, an EV only requires 3. According to one study, more than 76,000 jobs have already been lost in the past decade, and a further 32,000 are set to disappear by 2025.
L'industrie automobile traverse une mutation très forte vers l'électrification des voitures. Et c'est vrai que pour les constructeurs, ça nécessite une adaptation très rapide. Et dans ce contexte-là, les équipementiers ou les sous-traitants les plus petits sont forcément les plus fragiles.
The government has promised €50 million to help these metal casting plants diversify their activity. But that wouldn't be enough to stop job losses. And some may have to move into other industries, such as nuclear power.
And finally, Stephen, to Amazon, which is raising the pay for its warehouse workers in the United States.
The e-commerce giant says that 500,000 workers will get a pay rise of between 50 cents and $3 an hour. These increases will be introduced from mid-May. It follows a referendum at Amazon's warehouse in Alabama earlier this month, which saw workers reject a call to unionize. Now, Amazon's been on a hiring spree over the past year as demands for its services have skyrocketed during the pandemic. Last year in the United States, the company added 400,000 workers. It's now seeking to hire tens of thousands more staff in the US this year. Lots of people ordering things from home, and that does mean more work. At least now Amazon is saying as well it's going to mean more money for those staff members too.
Good to hear. Stephen Carroll, thanks a lot for that business update.